I am going to go ahead and get started. As you may or may not know, I'm your division contest chair for 2021. And tonight we're going to have a training on the functionaries and also a judges training with an assessment that will have you to where you can actually judge at the district level if you choose to stay for that portion. But first, we're going to have a welcome from our PQD, Roxanne Rush, and then we'll get into the training session. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Roxanne.
Thank you very much, Nicolette. And you are actually the district contest chair.
What did I say?
Division.
Oh, it was a back.
You promoted yourself, but I'm promoting you back up. So welcome to everyone. I know we have a lot of our area directors in the house tonight. Welcome. And we have a lot of our club members. We're very excited that you're here to learn about contests. And after tonight, hopefully you have a wealth of knowledge. But if you have any questions that don't get answered tonight, again, Nicolette is our district contest chair, and she will always be happy to help you with your contest and especially answering questions. I did see Kari Evans, our club growth director, here tonight. Welcome, Kari.
Hello. Hi, Roxanne. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kari. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for joining us. So I really appreciate Nicolette putting this presentation together. There's a lot of information, and I know we want to jump right in. So I'm going to turn it back over to Nicolette.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And she's absolutely right. The one thing about Toastmasters is things are always changing. Since our last time that we met, that we got together, we found out that the district, I did it again, and it's really not a slip. I'm not trying to go back to that position right now. So I'm just trying to let you know, Roxanne, don't call me next year talking about I need a division director. However, Toastmasters has decided that all the contests are going to be online this year. So just between the last 2 weeks that we got together, that's a change that's already occurred. That being said, I am trying my best to learn as much as I can and know as much as I can. But when things change, I'll have to get that information out to you. And if you ask questions tonight that I do not know the answer to, I will gladly reach back out to you. I'll hunt that information down and get it back to you. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about our contest chair and contest master and why we're going to want to have both. We're going to talk about the chief judge and their briefs. We're going to talk about their supporting cast that we have with our ballot counters and our timers and our SAA and judges. And we're actually going to have a breakout session just so that you can see how we're going to do the virtual contest online and how you probably would need to do yours as well, if possible. And then after that, we'll go into the judges training and the assessment that comes along with it. Let's start at the beginning. I saw these two together, and I remember a long time ago, I wondered why there were two. And then there was a time where Toastmaster said, well, you know, you really don't need to. You don't need a contest master anymore. But by that time, after being an area director for 2 years, I realized that is not what I wanted to do. The contest chair probably needs to be free to handle some things. So I decided to make this list just so that you could think of some things that would behoove you to have too. Your contest chair, they're going to create that contest agenda for you. They're the ones that's basically managing the whole enchilada. When it comes to that contest master, they're just managing your agenda for that day. So you don't want your contest chair tied up at the lectern when something happens. If someone is late that's coming in and they want to jump into where they're supposed to be, and at that point they're no longer allowed, you need someone that can help to guide and to direct and have that SAA put them in shackles. I'm just kidding. Have that SAA tell them that, no, we can't use you now. Can you, sit in the back for me right now, and then we'll move you up a little later. But you need someone that's able to move around, that knows all of the working parts. So your contest chair will be that person. They also validate and verify the contestants. When you have a contest chair outside of the club, that information from the clubs are being sent to those directors, whether it's the area director, division director, or myself. And I have to go and verify the information. I have to make sure that that contestant is eligible to actually compete at that level. The contest master is just managing the contestants that day. When it comes to the contest chair, they set the tone for the day. If you come in frazzled and crazy, that's going to be the tone of the contest. So you definitely don't want to do that. You want all your functionaries to feel like you got your hands on it. You got your arms wrapped around it. You have a plan and you're executing it. Whereas your contest master, again, they're setting the tone for the contest at that lectern. And then coming to the awards, the contest chair is going to manage those awards. I've seen some where people are kind of confused as to who to give the information to when it's over. It goes to your contest chair. If they want the contest master to be the one to announce, then they're the ones that will hand it over to them, but they have work to do with that information before it goes up front. So those are all fine and dandy, but we're also in this new virtual age and we have some challenges. So we're suggesting that you get a technology master. This person is going to help you with managing your waiting room. Right now, Roxanne, is managing our waiting room. She is letting people in as I speak. I see it pop up, I don't have to worry about it. Your technology chair is going to help with making sure that if someone comes in the room that's not supposed to be there for some reason and they start doing things that they shouldn't be doing, or maybe even putting on their video, that they can nicely kick them out or help them with muting themselves. And so having 2 or 3 people that's doing that, your technology chair, your SAA, and your contest chair is going to help you with managing your online virtual contests better. They're also going to help with the breakout room because you're going to need one in order to get your ballots counted and get the information back, the results back during the contest. So we talked about some of the do's and don'ts, but these are the things that were kind of high level. I wanted to make sure that we touched on. As you can see here at the bottom, I have some links. If Toastmasters doesn't do one thing right.
Is this dirty?
Did someone ask a question? If Toastmasters doesn't do one thing right, if they do one thing right, the thing they do right is they give us information. You cannot say, I can't find any of this. If you search it on the internet, if you search it on their website, more than likely it's going to come up. So what I did was I put a link here for the rule book for this year, because you have to use the current one. There are changes, and I will send that out, as well as the link to the D44 contest materials website. That site has been revamped and wonderfully, by the way, and it has a lot of data out there. So you may not recognize it the same, and in the past they had a lot of data as well, but I wanted to put this link here so you could go right to the contest materials. Now let's talk about these do's and don'ts. I have these images here because these help me kind of go through what my process would be or has been in the past. I look over the data, I read the manual, I see what it is that I need to be doing as a contest master or contest chair for that level of contest. So I read the manual to find out what my parameters are. And then I plan a strategy of execution along with a backup and maybe even another backup. So I rarely will have one contest master. There's going to be someone else in the audience that can fill in if there's a problem. I rarely will have one chief judge. I have a chief judge, but I have someone that's judging or someone that's a veteran that can fill in as a chief judge if something happens. We've actually had people who were in accidents on their way. Nothing bad, like a flat tire or something like that, or a little fender bender. But the bottom line is they couldn't make it. And if you don't have enough, then it makes it really difficult to get things completed. And at certain levels, there's some requirements that we have. I'm going to communicate with my functionaries. So after I get my plan together, I'm going to communicate with them one-on-one. I'm going to communicate with them as a group. We're going to know whose job it is to do what. In some instances, I have been extremely blessed, and I'll have a chief judge come in and say, I'm doing everything. You don't need to do anything, but send me my team. And they will make sure they get the documents that they need. They will make sure that they sign off on the paperwork that they need. They will come to the contest with the paperwork already printed out, or they will have it there ready to go for them, and they will chase them down. I've had times where I haven't had to worry about a thing, and then I've had times where I've had to step in as the contest chair and make sure those things get taken care of. I always carry a backup of documents. The contest master, I've had a contest master that has had the information for their contestants, and they will send out information asking for their bios and stuff like that as well. So that's helped with the management of those aspects of it, and kind of left my hands clear to handle more of the logistical things. Where's the contest going to be held? How is that going to work? Then there's providing that communication about how the winners are going to be announced. I've been to contests where the winner, again, is taken to the contest master. and they're up there kind of fumbling around with the paperwork because the contest chair is the one that normally would fill out their certificates. Nowadays, of course, I don't know if you've all seen the communication, but Toastmasters saying we're no longer just automatically sending out certificates. And since we're in this virtual world, it's not like you're going to hand them off anyway. So what you can do is ask everyone if that's what they would want. So for instance, if Karen is there, she does not want any certificates, but you ask everybody what they want. And that way, when they finish, you'll have it ready. And generally, I would have everything already filled out. I have every contestant as first place, every contestant as second place, every contestant as third. So I can pull them out. I have all my ballot counters already filled out, everything filled out. And that way I can email the person their certificate that they need. But it's really necessary to communicate how that process is going to work. Now, when it comes to this contest master, I was told 5 times this. So I made sure it was big on my slide. Let the contestants shine. You are the host, you set the tone. If you come in dry, everyone's gonna be looking around. It's also bad for the contestants. Can you imagine if someone introduced you in a blasé kind of way? Hello everybody, tonight we're gonna do some training on functionaries, and first up is Roxanne. Roxanne? You wouldn't like that. You want someone that has some energy that's gonna bring everyone in, get everyone engaged. You want someone that's gonna greet people and not kind of sit back and, or show up really late and pop in and say, okay, I'm ready to be the contest master. No, you want someone that's totally engaged. So let the contestants shine when you're doing your interviews. Make sure you're announcing the contestants in a manner that gets them excited about coming on to the video. And that way it'll help them with the process or with the presentation that they put together. Brief the contestants and gather the paperwork. I kind of mentioned that earlier when I said that I had some really good chief judges and contest masters. Study the contestant paperwork. Now, as you know, we have to interview as a contest master. If you don't study that paperwork, as soon as you get, it's going to be nearly impossible to do it in the 5 to 6 minutes that someone is speaking. So you already know it, you know, you got to say, you got to announce the person the right way. You know, you say their name, title, name, I think is what it is. I really didn't look that up. But the bottom line is that's already nerve-wracking enough. I don't know if any of you watched the international contest. I think most of them got that right, but the one thing they forgot was that minutes between contestants. So if they do it at that level, you know they do it at every level. So go ahead and get rid of some of those jitters by getting that information early, getting those bios early, looking over them, picking out those little things that you want to ask them. You can circle it. They're not getting the paperwork back. If they like rabbits, circle the rabbit if that's what you want to ask them about. It's okay to have the paper in front of you, but make sure you look at the paperwork before you get to the lectern, because there's nothing that stalls out that interview process like not knowing what the next question should be or not listening to the answer from the contestant. You don't want to look at the paperwork while they're answering and then come back and ask them something else and just totally ignore this wonderful nugget of information that they just gave you. Oh, I went gold mining and I found a small piece of gold. I didn't think much of it, but it was worth thousands of dollars. Oh, great. So it says here that you're from Florida. Tell us about that. Where did you grow up in Florida? Don't want to do that. So be engaged, be prepared, and then ask for that minute after each speech. I usually write it down because I'm one of those that would forget. Next up is Roxanne. Come on, Roxanne. Think about the interview questions early. We talked about that. And then manage the airtime. Try not to have any dead time. In this virtual component, when you have the breakout rooms and your chief judge and your ballot counters are gone, we really don't know exactly how long it's going to take them. We don't. They're waiting on emails from the judges, and they're opening those emails and tallying those votes. And if it takes 10 minutes, then you probably need something else to fill that time. So if the contest master and the contest chair can get together and come up with something else to do afterwards, maybe it's a trivia game. Maybe it's just music playing. Okay, guys, let's take a water break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Give them something to do. Don't have people sitting on a Zoom with a lot of dead air. Now, when it comes to the chief judge, unfortunately, this is the fun of the contest. You really have to concentrate on what you're doing because there are a lot of moving parts that can cause problems. So again, you're going to discuss that expectation so that you know, or you tell the chair what you're going to do in that position or what you're able to do in that position. If you're not able to get the paperwork beforehand and you don't want to manage that portion, make sure they know. You're managing the functionality, the functionary briefings and the breakout. So you're going to brief all of your ballot counters and your timer and all your judges and even your SAA, because different contests have the SAAs doing different things. But then you're going to manage those ballot counters during the breakout. You're the one with all the information. If your email is not working, that's going to be a problem. So those things have to be tested beforehand. And it is suggested that we do our briefings the day before, 24 hours before, or at least maybe an hour or two before the actual contest. So please don't do your briefings right when the contest is supposed to start. You want to share your screen during the breakout. So test that and make sure that you're on an app, a laptop or device that can handle it. There are some that don't do well with sharing, or some people have bad internet connectivity. Those things need to be considered when you're looking at being a chief judge. Provide the contest chair with the results. And this can be done via email, but you're the one that has that information. You've been in the breakout room, you're in the ballot counters, got together, you looked at the numbers once, twice, maybe even 3 times, and then you send it off to the contest chair so that they can give it to whoever they want to announce that winner. And then finally, that tie-breaking judge's ballot, just like in real life where we get the ballot and we hold on to it, you're gonna hold on to that email as well. You're not gonna open it unless there is a tie. So just a few things to remember. Don't just go through and open all of your emails. You need to know who your tie-breaking judge is, and that one needs to be done last if there's a tie. Now, we talked about those functionaries who make things happen. The ballot counters, again, they're gonna attend that breakout session. They're gonna look at those emails while they're being opened by the chief judge, and they're gonna look at the numbers, and they're gonna give them their numbers, their score that they came up with, and hopefully all of them will match. And that's a very critical job. The SAA is going to assist that tech master. They're going to assist the chair in making sure that if you're on, I hear background noise, please mute your lines. But they're going to assist the host and the technology master in making sure that things are running smoothly. And they'll be there to do other things that you may need done. I would have everyone's number that's a functionary so you can text, maybe even a group text. Not the judges, but the others, the ballot counters, the SAA, the timers. I would do something of that sort so that we'd have a group chat just in case there's something going on that we need to handle behind the scenes. And then finally, our wonderful timer. As you know, this has been a struggle for a lot of people. I think the thing that works best is if you have a document or something that you can put in front or the background. So the reason I didn't say the background first, to me, this one is pretty good in itself because I can go in here and change my background color in order to match whatever the timer color is. And it really stands out. But everybody doesn't have that kind of virtual background that they can use. So we had someone that had paddles, and see, I'm using a virtual background, so you can't even see this. But she wasn't using one. You can't use the virtual background when you do it. And she would put a paddle in front that was a different colors. She would put it in front of her camera, but make sure that if someone is doing that they leave it there. You can't put it up here and then take it away, and nobody knows what the color is. You have to leave it there so that people can tell. And again, the reason you don't see it is because of the virtual background. The other thing we want everyone to be able to do is to pin the timer. So if you look at the image to the right, over here, I pinned Roxanne earlier. I unpinned her too. But what I did was I clicked on her image, and there were 3 ellipses that came up, the ellipses, the dot, 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 beside the unmute or mute. I clicked on that, and I'll get a menu, and I can choose pin video. And what that does is it puts her at the top, so I always see her. When we're doing these contests, they totally discourage using any kind of visual aid, such as PowerPoint, because then your image is really small and we can't see what you're doing as you're speaking. That being said, the only person that needs to be up there would be the timer. But each of the speakers should pin that timer. And of course, if you want to, you can as well, so that you can see the information. The other thing that we're going to have in the district, the timers do, is to change their name. In order to change your name, you have this bar that either drops down. For me, it's dropping down because there's a little arrow, you can choose where you put it, or it comes up from the bottom. It's either dropping down from the top or coming up from the bottom. You click on participants and it'll open a window. Once you do that, you hover over the name and go to the right, and the menu option of more comes open. And if you click on that, you'll see rename, and you can rename your screen. Does anyone want to try that? Is everybody used to that? I think this is very important. It's important for your club meetings as well as the contests. Has anyone had a problem with seeing that? Do I have a lot of seasoned people in here? Okay. All right, we'll move on.
Right, we have a question, Nicolette.
Hmm?
We have a question. Can ballot counters and timers that are members but they have not renewed, can they serve as, if a member has not renewed, can they serve as a ballot counter or timer?
You know what, Roxanne, I don't know if you know that. I know a contestant cannot compete, but I don't know that that's the case. I know at the club level, we've definitely used people like a visitor will come to the meeting and we'll use them. We never ask if they're actually active, but district level, I don't know for sure. So Roxanne, is it the same at the district level?
So in a club contest, obviously you can use them if they haven't renewed, but once they move up into the area, division and district levels, then they do have to be paid members. And also, we didn't mention it before, but contestants have to be paid members. Mm-hmm. And especially after September 30th, this is very important. If you hold a contest, even at a club level after September 30th, or any level above that, one, you have to make sure the contestants has renewed their membership, but also the club has to be in good standing. And so that means they have to have 8 paid members, 3 of which have renewed. So that's very important with dues renewal right now, that you make sure that not just your contestants have renewed their membership, but you also want to make sure the clubs are in good standing.
I think we went over in the contest training that the contestants have to have it as well. They have to be members. Anything else about the 3 that you've seen so far, the functionaries, the ballot counter, SA, timer, contest master, chief judge? Okay, we're getting close to the end of this first portion of the training, and this is the one thing that I wanted to really make sure that everybody understood, because this does come up at times, especially when you get to the higher levels. So the protests, ones that are bold, they've been changed this year. And this is in your book on page 15. But with the protest, the thing that they're looking for now is that they don't want you to reference any other contestant when you're doing your speech. And I have seen that actually happen. So I guess that's why they've added it in there. They definitely don't want that happening at any of the levels now. But that will actually is a means for disqualification, along with, of course, having 25% of your speech or over 25% that's not original content. I wrote it that way just because it fit better with the sentence, but less than 75%. But again, the reason this is here is because it's talking about referencing another contestant's speech. Those are the things that are new, and most of you may have seen it. So the other thing I wanted to make sure that I pointed out is that only the chief judge, the contest chair, and the voting judges and the contestants can contest, not any of the audience members. And obviously not the ballot counter, or timer, or SA either. The eligibility that it's talking about here, it could be that membership situation. If it's one of the contests like the International Speech Contest, you have to have done 6 in the Competent Communicator, but you had to have been in that old program before. I think it says before Pathways rolled out. Again, it's on page 15. or you have to finish paths 1 and 2 for the international speech contest. So if you haven't done those things, then you're not eligible to be in that contest. All right, so now we're up to the part, I'm not too sure if all of you have had an opportunity to experience breakout rooms, so we wanted you to know what that was like. So we're gonna go into the breakout room, and then we're gonna do the chief judge ballot counting thing. So Roxanne.
I have a question while we're waiting.
Okay.
So for the club contests, how many is the minimum judges that we can have? Because sometimes it's hard to find judges.
It is sometimes, and it says 5, but it says also if you can. That's kind of the caveat that you get at that level.
So 2 will be fine.
Can we get better than 2?
I would aim for 3, and you want to make sure you have a tie-breaking judge. A lot of times people forget the tie-breaking judge, and you'd be surprised how many contests end in a tie. So it's extremely important that you have that tie-breaking judge.
So it's 3 plus tie breaking versus 2 plus a tie breaking?
I would say aim for 3 if possible.
Does that include the tie?
3 totals. I thought it included the tiebreaker, because if you have 2, the chances of you having a tie are going to be even higher, right? So that tiebreaker would be helpful.
The third one. Okay, so 3 in total, including tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm. But get me 5. It wants 6. They're saying 5 plus a tiebreaker. So. Okay. You're doing the breakout rooms, right, Roxanne? Is it working?
Sorry, you're the host, so you're
Oh, okay. Automatically. All right, let's. And we're back. Okay.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So the judges need to tell their response. Does it necessarily have to be text when you do it? Maybe text, not necessarily the chat, but WhatsApp or some other option? Or does it
I think they want them all to come to one place. WhatsApp is going to be on your phone. I don't know if they have an actual client, but is there a reason why the person wouldn't have email?
No, it's just some people.
You want to,
find it
you don't
easier
want to,
use WhatsApp.
you don't want to manage 15 different things. You don't want the chief judge having to go here and search for this judge's ballot and there to search for this one. And, oh yeah, I forgot this one, sent it to me on a chat. Here, let me show you my phone. You don't want to do that. It should all be in here. And the reason we didn't do the chat window is because when you're doing it privately in the chat window, you can only send it to one person. This is a checks and balance. So the ballot counters, which you should have at least 2, and then the chief judge, all 3 of them get together to determine who the winner is based on what the judges say.
Okay.
Hi, this is Tanisha. I have a very quick question. Actually, it's 2 questions. You were going to say that if you turn off, if the Zoom hosts turn off all chat features, they can still send a message to like a judge or chief judge or something like that. Is that what you were going to say?
No.
Okay.
I was saying that if the host can send something out to everyone if there's something to announce.
Okay, got it. And then my other question was, do you have to create, say if you needed 3 breakout rooms, 1 for the chief judge and the contestants, 1 for the chief judge, the chief judge and the ballot counter. Do you have to create those rooms before you start the meeting? Because I tried to create a room after the fact, after they were already in a room. I'm like, okay, I need 1 more room, and I wasn't able to do it.
So when I created the room I just did for you all, I had the option to do several rooms. And if I had chosen to do several rooms, I could add you to different rooms.
Okay,
So up in the top right-hand corner, there was an option, and unfortunately I can't share my
that Zoom window. I think is once I assigned the room and they were in the room, I needed 1 more room and I wasn't able to do it without closing all the rooms. Is that?
Oh, I see. Well, I didn't try to add another one. Well, mainly because I was in a room. So I don't know if I had gone back, but I definitely know that when you start out, there are options at the bottom. So that's a part of that planning that we were talking about earlier. Knowing how many chat rooms you need, and actually for the contest, it really, breakout rooms, it really only should be 1. I mean, the people who are, if you're talking about the briefing, that should be done before the contest starts.
Yeah, we did a table topics contest, which will mirror the evaluations contests later, because you're going to have like the evaluators in 1 room, and then the chief judge is giving, like at the briefing, we had them separate because of the judges. Like we didn't put the briefing, like everyone being briefed at the same time. So I needed different rooms from the chief judge. Yeah, that's the benefit of doing it a day ahead. So never mind, scratch that.
Or a few hours ahead. If you did it 2 hours ahead, then you could have everybody come in, but you really don't want your judges on the same Zoom as all your contestants, right. And that's all that's there.
Oh, yes, that was the problem. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Nicolette, there was a question. It says ballots go to chief judge only, correct?
Correct.
And then it says the chief judge then forwards the ballots to the ballot counters?
No, when they're in the breakout room, they're going to open them there, because it's up to the chief judge to destroy all the ballots after the contest is finalized. So you don't want it in several people's hands. So when you get to that breakout room, like we were just in, and I showed you Roxanne's email, we will all have sat down and wrote out, okay, Wonder Woman gets 3 points and Black Panther gets 2 points, and the Hulk is going to get a point. And then we'd look at the next ballot. And then at the end, if there's not a tie, we're good to go. We take that tally, I put it on a results sheet for the contest chair, and I email it to the contest chair. Now, if by chance I had a tie, we would open up the tiebreaker email. And that tiebreaker email has every contestant lined up, like, sorted in order, and they get points based on where they are. And that will determine, wherever they are, is what's going to determine who the winner is. That's why you definitely want to have that tiebreaker.
I have a question, please. My name is Teresa Worthy. And I
Hi,
want to
Teresa.
know how you get these ballots. Are the ballots going to be emailed to the judges and they complete them online and then email it to the chief judge?
So the chief judge is going to download those ballots from the contest information we have at D44's website. I'll send out that link for the website that has all the information, has a kit. And when they're doing the briefing is when they will give those ballots to the judges. If a judge does not attend briefing, they will not get a ballot.
But how will the judge get them? Because this is virtual, you know, in a room.
They're going to email it.
So
They'll email it to the judge.
And then how?
So every judge has to have email capability. If you don't have email capability, that's not going to work out. Everything is virtual. So we have no other way of getting this information, and we want it to be streamlined in one place. So the chief judge is going to do their briefing, and then they're going to email out the ballots to the judges that attended. They'll email out the stuff to the timer that's supposed to get their timing ballots or the timing sheets, because they get that back from both timers. And if there's a discrepancy, if somebody is over and the other timer says that they were on time or under, then we go with the one that says they're on time or under. So that's why we want 2 timers.
Okay, but my question is, let's say I'm a judge and I've been emailed a ballot. How do I complete the ballot? Am I to type it into the email while I'm sitting there trying to listen?
Well, what I would do is I would download the sheets, which I'm going to get into judges training and it'll have it there. But I would have those sheets, and you actually don't have to download them. They are virtual. You could fill them out online as well, or I should say on your computer. And then I would do the tally like I normally do. And at the end, I would fill out, like I'm filling out that bottom slip, I would fill out the email and send that email over with the results.
So the email is going to come to me blank, and then I just type in my information on the, okay.
That's correct. And then you email it back when we finish. So you're still going to have that tally sheet. That tally sheet's important.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
But the tally sheet that was, you know, from the kit, wasn't it PDF? And I couldn't write on it or anything, right?
The tally sheet it is a fillable PDF now. And those, I'll look at D44 and make sure they have the fillable ones, but I know that Toastmasters International has the fillable PDFs. And I'm going to show one of those to the judges.
It was not fillable. And it was like, do I need to print this out or not?
It could be new. Again, one thing about Toastmasters is they update their content. So, and I agree with you because I downloaded the humorous one when I did the training and it was not fillable. Today, I downloaded the international and the evaluation because those are the 3 that the district are doing this year. And well, that could have changed too. I'll have to get with my boss, but now they're fillable. So it is possible that when you downloaded the humorous before, it wasn't. But now the ones that I received that I just downloaded today are fillable. And I'll show you the one for actually. Are you all seeing my screen? I am sharing it, right?
It just says breakout.
It does,
Oh,
okay.
Yep, now I see it.
Yeah, now they're fillable. You know, I can put Lena in here. We can have Roxanne. Actually, neither of those can compete, but you can fill out your contestants there. And one thing about the contestant, I didn't say this for the contest master, when you're doing the ballots, a lot of people are using like a randomizer. So they're all together in the breakout. They see them put their name in the randomizer and it'll put them in a random order. And that's the order you're speaking in because it's too hard to do, pick a number from 1 through 10, you know. And really make sure it's unbiased. So a lot of people are using online randomizers, and I think that's out there as well in the packet so that you can click on the link. It's just an online thing. You type in the name of the contestants, you click a button, it puts them in a random order, and that's their speaking order.
I know one club member I saw had a deck of cards and said, Sally, this is your card, so-and-so, this is your card, and they just randomly drew cards out of a deck. If you don't have a randomizer, that would work, wouldn't it?
It would work, but how are you drawing the cards? That means the contest master's drawing the cards because you're not together.
Right, they draw them and they say that contestant number, they have them in alphabetical order and then they draw the cards based on alphabetical order and that's how they get the order.
I see.
And they're in
I'm sure there are going to be a lot of great ways.
together, and they put the contestants in a breakout room together to do it. That's how I saw it done.
Yeah, it happens during the briefing. So they should already be in a room together. And I've heard of some other ways that they do it too. So that's an option. But the ballots now are fillable, as you see here. You can type in these. And so what I would do is I would fill this out, and then I would take the information, because usually your 1, 2, 3 are going to be down here in the total numbers. I would take the information and put it on the email so it can go to the chief judge. All right, we need to go ahead and transition into judge training. We've done a little bit of that, but I just wanted to tell you that you are all winners. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your night to come out for functionary training. And I'm hoping that you'll stay for the judges training, but if you're not interested in participating at that level, on the district level as a judge, then you're more than welcome to drop off now. But I just wanted to say thank you for attending so far. So now let's get down to the, yes.
Hi. Can I go back to a statement I made about pinning and spotlight?
Sure.
I had the opportunity to practice that. Each participant can, each participant can pin someone, but you really cannot, but you can spotlight the speaker or the timer.
So you're saying you didn't see the pin video right up above spotlight video?
That helps.
So in my drop down, I have
that the participant or the speaker spotlight or pin. Yeah, but I could have done it myself. It's spotlight, not pin.
So in mine, it has pin video as an option and spotlight video.
Really see it in gallery view. If you will spotlight her, and then if you pin her, I can pin Roxanne myself, but that's all it was, just to make clear that you can spotlight.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I would do that I play around at my club meetings.
Spotlight is when spotlight is you can do as the host, but pinning is only for the participants. You can do it, but we really can do it. So you don't control that. It's just controlled by each participant.
Okay, Ms. Jones, I can't really tell what you're saying. It's breaking up. Can you put it in the chat? And we'll go over it. We'll look in the chat later to see what you're mentioning. But your mic is breaking up. It's not a good connection, and I can't hear what you're saying. But I know that you're telling us the difference between pinning a video and spotlighting a video. Do you mind putting that in the chat for us? And I would suggest that when you're in your club meetings, guys, play with these controls and see what works best for you. All right, so for the judges training, the first thing I wanted to do was judges by the number, and we actually had some conversations around this already. When it comes to the clubs, Toastmaster suggests that we have 5 voting judges, 1 tiebreaker, 2 ballot counters, and 2 timers if it's possible. We realize that some clubs are smaller, like Roxanne was saying. In order to be a club in good standing, you have to have at least 8 members, and 3 of them had to have returned from the previous term. So you can't have 8 totally new members, or 2 from the previous term and 6 new members and be a club in good standing. But if your club is that small and you have 3 people in a contest, you may not have enough to fulfill all of this. So that's why it says that if possible. For the area, they want either an equal number of judges or voting judges from each club in the area, or a minimum of 5 voting judges. And again, you're going to have a tie-breaking judge, 2 ballot counters, and 2 timers. The same thing for the division, except for you're going to have an equal number from each area, or a minimum of, 7 for this one. The division and district are the same. 7 for this one. You're still going to have a tie-breaking judge, and you're going to have your 2 ballot counters and 2 timers.
And just something to reiterate, it says minimum for each of these. You might want to consider having a few extra because again, on a virtual platform, sometimes the internet goes down and we've had judges that have fallen off and they didn't see all the contestants. So you want to make sure you have enough judges. So make sure you have those extra judges on hand or have them ready to go and judging as well.
And guys, that's critical because they have to see all of them or their ballot is invalid. The other thing that it's mentioning there is that the chief judge, voting judge, and tiebreaker judge cannot be a member of any of the clubs of the contestants. That becomes a thing when it gets to division and district levels. And again, both of them are minimum of 7. And for the district, they want an equal number from each division. So if you have 2 from Division A, you have to have 2 from Division B, 2 from C, and so on. Now, when it comes to being ethical, and this can be very difficult, especially if you're a seasoned Toastmaster, you've been around for 15 years, you probably know people in every single club. You've probably seen them on the circuit for doing these types of contests for years and years. So there's some that compete every year. They just absolutely love it. And some of us love seeing them. But just try to be conscientious about that. Remember, I would print my ballot because I was taught long ago to fold my ballot over so that I'm not comparing contestants. This is not a comparison. This is a, how did that person do? And if you're judging from that as best as you can, then your numbers will line up. And there's still some give in the ends. If you really determine that, okay, well, maybe I was a little harder in the beginning, and I do believe that this is the best contestants, there's some give there because it says 1, 2, 3. It doesn't say give your numbers and sign here saying that these are the numbers that you had. You're only telling them what your final score is. But try not to compare them because you're comparing them against themselves based on the criteria that's on the judging sheets. Don't consider any kind of thing that would delineate them, whether it's age, sex, religion, national origin, whether or not there's a disability, or you have a difference in political beliefs, which is huge right now. And then also, there are times when you may have a conflict of interest. I was asked to judge at a district contest, one of our district meetings in the spring one year, and my cousin from the Rome, Georgia club of all things was in the contest. So I had to be, I think, a ballot counter. I couldn't judge. She couldn't use me as a judge because I had a cousin in the contest, which was just really weird and odd. Now, when it comes to certifying the judges and looking at their eligibility, there is a form that they have to fill out, and most of you have probably seen it. I actually have, I think, a copy of it here. I can show you the whole thing. And basically what you're doing is at the top, you're going to put the type of contest that it is. I don't think anyone this fall is doing 2, but they could. What you don't want to do is put 2. You're really supposed to have 1 for each one. That was a Toastmaster thing. So if you're judging a humorist, then just copy it, fill everything out, copy it, and check the other box. Check, I think some people might be doing a humorist and table topics right now, but most are just doing humorous. In January timeframe or January to March, you may be doing the evaluation and international. Fill out a couple because they go in different folders. This is what happened in the humorous contest. This is what happened in the other, and you won't have that. And then you check off which one it is. Was it a club contest or was it an area contest? And then finally, the date of the contest. At the bottom, it has here where I can actually sign it electronically. I tend to go and grab my signature and plop it in. And then you type in your name, print it. And this has to get back to the chief judge before the contest starts. So you want to have that earlier. You want to have that done early. Now, for the fun part, we have the judging criteria. The one thing about this process is that the forms that we get are pretty detailed and laid out. And I highlighted these because you're taking an assessment in order to qualify to be a district judge. and we probably need to go through them. So please just bear with me. I know you can read for yourself, but I don't know that all of you printed out your forms tonight. I don't know that any of you have taken a look at them recently. And there could be some changes on here that have been made by TI. But let's take a look. So speech development. This one is on the international and the humorous. Again, we're only talking about 3 tonight because that's what the district is doing this year. So the international and the humorous both have speech development. On the international contest, it's worth 20 of the 100 points. So when you're filling out that tally, the highest score one of your contestants could get is 20. For humorous, the highest score they can get is 15. And that's because they have an extra item on theirs that you'll see later. So for speech development, it's the way the speaker puts ideas together so the audience can understand them. The speech is structured around a purpose, and this structure must include an opening, body, and conclusion. A good speech immediately engages the audience's attention and then moves forward towards a significant conclusion. This development of the speech structure is supported by relevant examples and illustrations, facts and figures, delivered with such smoothness that they blend into the framework of the speech to present the audience with a unified whole. Now, isn't that a mouthful? You just gotta love the way that was written. You know that was written by a Toastmaster. The next one is effectiveness. This one is worth 15 points for the international speech and 10 for the humorous contest. Effectiveness is measured in part by the audience's reception of the speech. By a large part is your subjective judgment of how the speech came across. You should ask yourself such questions as, was I able to determine the speaker's purpose? Did the speech relate directly to the purpose? Was the audience's interest held by the speaker? And was this speech subject appropriate for this particular audience? And that's effectiveness. Now, one thing I do when I'm judging a contest is I keep those 2 sheets side by side. One is the tally, the other tells me exactly what I'm looking for. So if I see something that I'm not too sure if I should really be judging, I'll go back to this as my reference, because the other part of the sheet doesn't give you this much detail. The other part of the sheet is very simple. So effectiveness is achievement of purpose, interest, and reception. But you can tell this other one is so detailed that it really gives you a better idea of what they're looking for in Toastmasters. And honestly, if we want District 44 to ever win that international contest, we need to be looking for this stuff too, starting at the club level. The next one is speech value. For the international contest is 15 and humorous is 15 as well. Speech value justifies the act of speaking. The speaker has a responsibility to say something meaningful and original to the audience. The listener should feel the speaker has made a contribution to their thinking. The ideas should be important ones, although this does not preclude a humorous presentation of them. So it can be important and funny. Next, we have physical, and for both it's 10 points. Physical presentation of a speech carries part of the responsibility for effective communication. The speaker's appearance should reinforce the speech, whether profound, sad, humorous, or instructional. Body language should support points through gestures, expressions, and body positioning. The speaker makes effective use of and stays within the designated speaking area. Now in the chat, if you believe that if someone goes out of the speaking area, they're immediately disqualified, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If you don't believe that's true, then put a 2. I want to see where we are. Okay. It looks like we're getting mostly 2s, and that's correct. A speaker that goes out of the speaking area are going to get points deducted on this one area. So if they leave the speaking area, if I'm outside of the frame and I'm over here and I'm not doing it on purpose, I don't know if you saw the international contest, but he literally started, see if I can get over there, over here like this. And then he came up and he did all these different things, but he was always in this frame. If he had gotten out of the frame of his speaking area, they could have deducted points in this physical portion of the judging. So instead of getting 10 points, he might have gotten 8. If someone else thinks this is extremely critical, they may give him 5. I mean, there's nothing that says speaking area is worth 2 points or speaking area is worth 5 points. So that's where that subjectivity comes in. Now, when it comes to voice, both of these are worth 10 points for international and humorous. And the voice is a sound that carries a message. It should be flexible, moving from one pitch level to another for emphasis, and should have a variety of rate and volume. A good voice can be clearly heard and the words easily understood. I don't know about you, but I've been to some contests where I've been a little lost. The next one, for international and for humorous, is worth 10 points, and it's called manner. Manner is the indirect revelation of the speaker's real self as the speech is delivered. The speaker should speak with enthusiasm and assurance, showing interest in the audience and confidence in their reactions. Appropriateness is worth 10 on each. Appropriateness of language refers to the choice of words that relate to the speech purpose and to the particular audience hearing the speech. Language should promote clear understanding of thoughts and should fit the occasion precisely. Next, we have correctness. It's worth 10 for international and 5 for humorous. Correctness of language ensures that attention will be directed toward what the speaker says, not how it is said. Proper use of grammar and correct pronunciation will show that the speaker is the master of the words being used. That's another point I missed on the don'ts. If you're the contest master, I beg you, talk to the person that you're going to be introducing later to get their pronunciation of their name. It's really important to call them the right thing because they're coming up, and if they're thrown by what you just said, you could actually throw them off their speech. So try to get the pronunciation of the name beforehand in the briefing, hopefully the day before. When you see them, or if you can, talk to them on the phone to make sure you're putting the inflections right and try to mimic it. And that'll make it a lot more smoother when you're calling them to the lectern, or in this case, to the screen. Audience response. Audience response reflects the audience's reaction to the speech. Did the speech hold the audience's interest? Did people understand and laugh at the humor? And that's the one that's only in humorous, and that's worth 15 points, which is why you saw discrepancies in the other points going forward or before. Now, when it comes to evaluation, there are 4 criteria, and you can see the point spread is a lot different. The analytical quality is 40 points, recommendations are 30, techniques are 15, and summation is 15. Now, one of the reasons recommendations are so high is, I don't know how many of you have been trained with the evaluation, but if you do your pathways, you will eventually come across it. It is a wonderful, wonderful module where they show you what a good evaluation looks like, and then what one that sounds good looks like and why it wasn't a good evaluation. One thing we learned when taking the training, if an evaluator does not give any recommendations, it was not a good evaluation. No matter how long you've been speaking, you will make a mistake. There will be something you can improve on. That's why we do Toastmasters. We're exercising our muscles. This is our speaking gym. So we go here to exercise, and more than likely there's something we're gonna do that's not right. So let's go to analytical quality. It refers to the effectiveness of the evaluation. Every evaluation should carefully analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the speaker's presentation. Were the evaluator's comments clear and logical? Did the evaluator identify specific strengths and weaknesses of the presentation? Recommendations. Recommendations are an important part of the evaluation. An evaluator not only points out the strengths and weaknesses of a speech, he or she also offers specific recommendations for improvement. Recommendations should be practical, helpful, and positive, and they should enable the speaker to improve his or her next presentation. Technique is worth 15 points. And technique refers to the manner in which the evaluator presents his or her comments and recommendations. An evaluator should be sensitive to the feelings and needs of the speaker, yet inspire and encourage the speaker in his/her future speaking efforts. Isn't that wonderful though? We're asking for encouragement. And then summation. Summation is how the evaluator concludes the evaluation. The conclusion should briefly summarize the evaluator's comments and suggestions and be positive and encouraging. And that one's also worth 15 points. Now, we looked at the actual form before, but what I wanted to point out here is the difference between the ballots. So you know if you get the wrong one, tell someone. But your regular judging ballot looks this way. You're gonna rank them first, second, and third. And normally if we were together, you would sign this or it would be invalid, and then you would rip it off and we would never see this part. So the reason we're only asking for this part, but in an electronic format, is because that's all we would normally see. On the tiebreaker one, you actually have 10 spaces at the bottom, and those are for every single contestant. They're all lined up. They're all ranked on who's first, second, third, all the way through. And that helps with breaking the ties. We've already looked at the electronic ballot tonight. I don't think there were any other questions with that. So now we're at the good part. In order to be a judge for the district, there is a little quiz. It's 20 questions. It probably will take you 20 minutes or less to complete it. And then we will get back to you with your score. It's a form that's only going to be open for that length of time. So right now it's 8:03. At 8:25, I'm going to cut off the form. And then I'll come back here. If anybody has any questions afterwards, I'll still be online. But what we're going to do right now is I'm going to put the link to the form in the chat. I say that, but it's not letting me copy this. All right, let me go grab it. I'm going to put the link to the form in the chat window. And if you click on it, it's going to bring up a Google form. Anybody can get to the form. All of the questions are mandatory. So please, if you could go and take the test.
This assessment has to be done tonight.
Yes, you have 20 minutes to complete it. So at 8:25, I'm going to disable the form. And by the way, it is closed book, but you know. Tiffany, are you writing on my screen?
I'm sorry. I don't know how I did that.